The Arizona game kind of skewed Oregon State's really good defensive numbers off, but what are you seeing in their defense?
Yeah, very aggressive. They're very aggressive defense and run to the ball. Everybody runs to the ball. They're more pressure than probably the teams we've played up to this point. And they're starting to disguise some stuff a little bit.
Do you get the sense that they're starting to buy into the culture change that inevitably happens whenever there's a new coach?
Well, I think they're a tough, hard-nosed team. They were last year. They got several of those guys back,
Coach, what are the challenges for anyone in their first year of taking over a program that you've experienced, or even with your opposing coaches facing?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just getting everybody on the same page, getting your message, your process across, and getting everybody on the same page so they work on it, build on it.
They've been pretty solid in the secondary in recent years. What is it about these guys?
Well, they've had good players, and they're tall by secondary standards. One kid's about 6 foot, the other kid's about 6'3", so they have big, tall kids. And then, of course, Utah's defense, where, there's some roots from Utah's defense to Oregon State. They have a funny way of getting their corners drafted in the NFL on a pretty regular basis. So, they're kind of familiar with corner play and the importance of it as far as putting them in a situation to create pressure.
The sideline reporter on Saturday said there was a moment before that final drive it looked like you were about to rally the offense, and then saw Luke was doing it anyways and just kind of let him continue. Are the players starting to kind of take over a leadership role in a way that allows you to step back?
I don't know that you ever step back. I think the more leadership you get from players, the better. I don't know exactly the instance you're referring to, but Luke does talk to the players and does, rally up the players from time to time. And the more he does, the better it is because he's good at it, and plus they draw from him.
The way your team responded being down 10, is that a sign of maturity or that you haven't seen before? Or with this team, are they finally just executing in practice in the games?
Well, it's all pretty easy. You just focus on one play at a time. Just get the most out of one play at a time. And that's you just have to have the mental discipline to do that. I mean, I was glad we did that, but we need to continue to. It doesn't matter at the point in the game. Focus one play at a time, get the most out of that play, and then get the most out of the next one. So,
where has Luke grown the most through 5 games this year?
I think still growing continues to grow as far as just moving the offense, utilizing the offense, becoming familiar with his weapons and becoming familiar with him.
How important was the Oregon State game last year for his development, just in his first start, to have the success that he had and maybe build some confidence off that?
Well, I thought he played well against Oregon State. Of course, they were on a heck of a roll. They just beat Arizona State. So the biggest thing you saw is he played really composed, and of course he does a good job of that. He played composed down the stretch this last game and in overtime, and did that against Oregon State.
Does his humility and his demeanor give him some credibility with the players?
I think his work ethic gives him credibility with the players. I think his work ethic, and then, I think he artfully has a little, exhibits a little humility. I mean, but you got to be a pretty confident guy to play quarterback, and you got to be a pretty assertive guy. You just don't want to offend people as you do it. So I think he's got a good balance of both.
You scored to start the first and third. How important was that for you guys?
Well, as it turned out, every one of those scores was pretty important. I think it's important. I think it's important not just for the points, but start competing the half. Just the level of competition, focus, and to set the stage for the half.
There was a funny moment caught on camera after you scored late in the fourth. I think it was Coach Reiner kind of urging you to go for 2. What was that kind of moment like for you? How close were you to considering going for two there?
He's like Richard Nixon coming off an airplane. He's giving the peace sign. He didn't say anything about going for two. No, I mean, just there was just a discussion on whether we're going for one, going for two. We went for one, obviously. The thought would be, I thought their chances were decent of stopping us for one play. I didn't think they could stop us in successions of 4 plays. They're kind of an explosive group. They're the type that, and we'd had gotten some 3 and outs. Now, we'd given up some 3 and outs too, which I'm still disappointed with, but we got them 3 and out several times. So they're kind of an explosive group. I thought they were the type of team that might score in 1 or 2 plays, but then might not score in 4 plays, and I thought our odds of doing that were higher than theirs, so.
Coach, the 3 running backs combined for over 178 yards for themselves and about almost 10 yards a carry. Was that a variation just kind of adding to the offense, or was it what the defense was giving you?
Really kind of both. I thought our offensive line ran block better, stayed square, stayed lower, ran their feet better. I thought the backs hit the hole better. Too often our backs have had a temptation to try to stretch to the sideline, and you see backs everywhere do it, and, it's just nauseating. And it's nauseating to the point where if I'm watching some team I don't know anything about, and that back thinks he's going to exhibit how fast he is and run to the sideline, it pisses me off just to watch the guy do it on some other team. And I thought we did a good job hitting the holes real hard. Then you make some stuff happen when you do that, and and they did. So, and then their defense at times was trying to talk us out of the run, but was playing the pass, and I thought we adjusted to that pretty well.
Having the defense respond in situations like that 3rd and 2 stop you had to get the ball back, Shalom ending the game on a defensive play, does that change the math for you at all when you're evaluating whether to punt or to go for it, knowing your defense can kind of have the offensive back like that?
Yeah, maybe a little. We've been playing, our defense plays hard. We run to the ball good. We need to have a little more precision as we play, but we're doing a lot of good things.
Like 7 sacks for the 2nd straight week. Was it a similar situation to the previous week or different?
I forgot, I don't know the comparison. The bottom line is sometimes he held the ball, sometimes we got beat. I think their front's a very imposing group. Most of this team were on the Rose Bowl championship team, so they're pretty talented people. But I thought we broke down on the O-line sometimes, and sometimes he kept the ball, and sometimes there's a combination of both. And so I think they got to improve at it. And I think, anytime we get sacked, as far as I'm concerned, not just the O-line. I don't just have a problem with the O-line. The quarterback has an issue too, because I think they're both responsible for it. And then sometimes, and then in this case it was, they didn't, there wasn't a ton of blitzes, so it wasn't backs or anybody not blocking. Occasionally receivers weren't open, but still, for the most part, we either got to protect or get rid of it.
Coach, Steve Sarkisian's just been fired at USC. Your thoughts on that whole situation then?
Well, I don't have any thoughts on it. I don't know the details. I know Steve, and I like him, I don't know the details of, the issues or what happened, so.
Any questions on the line for Coach Leach?
Hey, Coach, Steph Lowe. Earlier in the season, you guys had issues where it seemed like you were playing up and down to the level of your opponent. Your guys think that you're beyond that. Would you agree with them?
I don't know. I think we have to constantly check that. I'll have a better idea as we practice this week. the only level you should play at is the best that you can possibly play. And so, you know, if we're doing that this week in practice, you know, maybe we took a step, or at least for the time being. If, you know, if we don't, then, well, obviously we'll offer some serious motivation on the subject.
Did you or your staff actually address the issue like this with them? Is there anything that you did to try and focus them over the last few weeks?
We were fairly blunt on the issue and what we thought needed to change and be adjusted, and yeah, we were very direct with them.
So do you think they've responded at this point, or like you're saying, you're still waiting to see?
Well, I think you have to constantly respond. You know, I think as a guy improves and as a guy gets better, I mean, he's got to keep pushing to raise the bar, and I think failure to do that, you don't improve. But I think our guys need to embrace each play, get the most of it, and do it every day in practice. And I think we're improving at that. I don't think we're perfect at it.
Coach Matt Calkins with the Seattle Times, you know, Peyton was talking earlier that, you know, he thinks that win over Oregon awoke people as to what Washington State is capable of. He's talking about, you know, potential Pac-12 championship game, all that kind of stuff. Do you think those kind of expectations at this point are realistic?
I don't think we need to worry about any of that. I think we just need to worry about the next play. Next play is going to be tomorrow's practice. If we do really well with that play, then maybe we can do even better with the following one. That's all we need to worry about.
Before this year began, did you see this group as the most talented that you've had since you've come to Washington State, as capable of the biggest things?
What was the last part?
Most talented, capable of the most success you guys have had since you came to Wazoo.
We've got some. We're more talented than we have been. We've got a lot of youth that we got to blend in and play together better. You know, I mean, we knew we had a lot of new faces that you know, we're going to have to develop in their roles. But yeah, we've got some. You know, we're better on in some phases than we have been in the past.
There have been moments before, you know, win over USC, leading to a bowl berth, where Wazoo fans and people watching said, "All right, this is a turning point," and it didn't quite happen. What have you seen from this team, or is there anything different about this team where you would say, "All right, well, yeah, we had a big win, and it's going to continue, and here's why"?
No, I mean, we're going to go out there and we're going to see if we practice well. There's not all this big picture stuff. That's for you guys to do. And that's a portion of that's why you guys aren't invited to our meetings, because you'll get sidetracked and distracted with all this, that, then the other thing, and, you know, why is there error, and if all that other business. And where we need to focus on improving our skills each play, and if we do that and we can do it successively, we'll have a chance to be pretty good. If we lose our focus, we start thinking about a bunch of extra stuff that doesn't count, then we're going to play distracted and incomplete.
Hey, Coach, one of the newcomers that you have has made a pretty significant impact on defense, Shalom Luwani. How did you guys first start recruiting him, and what did you see in him at that junior college?
Very impressive player. I mean, I thought I felt like he jumped off the screen. I mean, he played at San Francisco City College. I thought he jumped off the screen. He was a hard hitter and hit hard to the point where I actually expected him to be bigger in person when I met him. Very quick feet. Not sure how fast. He's not slow, but he's got incredibly quick feet. There's some story, which I haven't totally followed through on, about him being on the Samoan national soccer team, and evidently some kind of a documentary on the subject, which you know, when, in the off-season, I'll make sure I check out as many Shalom documentaries as I can find. And then, but no, I mean, just he's gotten better and better. I thought he had a good camp, and then there was a point where the package was moving a little fast for him, and now it seems like he's really getting into a rhythm and on a roll.
Was he, when you first started watching his film, was he raw, I guess? Like, when you looked at this kid, did you think, wow, like, we could definitely polish that out, we could do so much more when we get our hands on him?
Well, a little bit. There's some package differences, but we knew he was a talented guy, and he played smart, you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions in the room?
Who's the hardest hitter you've been around?
Dwayne Slay. Yeah, Dwayne Slay. Played for us. Yeah, at Texas Tech. He was a JC guy. Slay was from either Georgia or Florida. And, you know, like, 6'4", 6'4", 225, 230 kind of guy. Played free safety. And I think he was from, I think he was from, what's the junior college there in Chico? Yeah. He might have been, are they the ones that got on that big roll? Well, several years back. Anyway, we had several players from there. I think he might have been from Butte Junior College, and they still show on TV in the middle of the night. There were several hits against Kansas State. We're playing Kansas State, and of course Kansas State, like they always were heavily ranked, very physical, just viciously physical. And Dwayne Slay would come from free safety, full tilt, and just blew that kid up over and over. I mean, just over and over. And I mean, he was the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year. And then he, you would see though, I mean, and people talk about this, people say this, but it's almost never true. Occasionally a guy will, button up as he hears footsteps or something. You would see guys, run routes on other teams. And as they got inside the hash, they would just gear down. It was visible on film where these guys would just pack it in because they weren't going anywhere near Dwayne Slay. And then I asked him, I said, Slay, I said, so I go, what are you gonna do when you get out? He says something like, well, I'm gonna write a biography. I said, well, what's the biography? What's it gonna be called? He goes, well, it's gonna be about my ideas and my life. He says it's gonna be called The Mind of the Slayer. So, anyways, I think that's fair to say. I got a lot of respect for plays I've had before and players I've had since. Hardest hitter was Dwayne Slay, and any of them that want to dispute that, I would love to see a contest between them and Dwayne Slay on hitting anything. But certainly Shalom's working his way that direction. Hercules is another guy, even though it's a more confined position, works his way he's kind of inordinately strong.
Shalom, the hardest hitter that you had since you've been here?
Yeah, I think so. Travis Long, very physical player, but and certainly, well, of course, you got Buchanan though too. Buchanan was a big hitter too. But Buchanan looked like one. Buchanan, you had a guy built like outside linebacker, that would, so he is very complete that way, And Buchanan had that big hit against Auburn, blew that kid up, and then of course, knocked the ball loose, forgot to pick the ball up. You know, I thought the hit was great. I wished he'd have picked the ball up, you know.
All right, Coach, this is our student question of the week for you. Since it's Columbus Day, a student wanted to know what your thoughts are on Christopher Columbus, and is he deserving of an American holiday?
Well, being Scandinavian, I certainly think that Christopher Columbus ought to get some credit. I don't have any big problem with that, but I think that we maybe ought to make it Leif Erikson Day or Viking Day, you know, and so that would suit me. If we got our day as well, especially, you know, as we begin to diminish political correctness, we better get it in pretty quick while they're still inclined to make sure everybody's happy, you know. But in Cody, Wyoming, as a kid, holidays were based, significance was based on whether you got out of school or not. Well, we didn't get out of school, so I wasn't a big Columbus Day guy. But I know Melee and Mastro and Vince, those guys will be definitely celebrating Columbus Day. It may be hard to get any work out of them since it's Columbus Day. But no, I haven't given it a great deal of thought. So, you know, and technically Columbus never made it all the way to America, but it was impressive. You know, it was like anything. A bunch of people told Columbus that it couldn't be done, and he went ahead and did it anyway. So it was really impressive that way.
Have you ever got that same feedback in anything in your life or in your coaching? That
Oh
couldn't
yeah,
be done this way?
nonstop, constantly.